Can I just tell you how wonderful it is to get you in front of the camera and not behind it? Just for a chance to wreck you here today is just going to be an honor.
Instead of me silently talking in your ear. Yes, it's probably a little different.
Just a little different. All right, let's talk about the book. You brought this to my attention. I read it as you had previously. The Brothers in Arms, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with a co-writer. Anthony Walton. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the book is about the 761st Tank Battalion. It was an all-black tank battalion during World War II. And it came to my attention. My wife got it for me as a Christmas gift because I'm, just like you, very interested in the history of World War II, all the facets. And I love first-person accounts of people's experiences during the war. And she saw this, and what struck her was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one of the co-authors. So she thought that was pretty interesting. She knew he had written some children's books, but she didn't know the connection to World War II. So she bought the book, and I always make it a point to read a foreword of a book before I go into it because it gives you some kind of a backstory. And the backstory of the book was when Jabbar was growing up in New York, and I believe he grew up in Harlem, he would have to take transit trains to go different places to play basketball and other events. And there was a guy named Leonard Smith who was a transit police officer that he would see all the time, who would just say, keep your nose clean, do the right things, just don't hang out with the wrong people, hang out with the right people, you have a future, kid. So Jabbar has his career a long time. About 12, 13 years ago, he goes to a film premiere in Manhattan, I think at Lincoln Center, and it was about a film about the 761st Tank Battalion. In the film, they're profiling different people, and he looks up and he sees Leonard Smitty Smith, the guy who was a transit police officer, told him, keep your nose clean, kid. It was one of the subjects in the film. And he's like, my God, I know this guy. So, and Smith was there and I think was recognized by the audience. So he went up and started to talk to him, and he started to get more of his experience. And he was blown away by the fact that this guy that he knew in a certain way as an adult who was just saying, keep your nose clean, kid, had an experience, a lifetime experience, long before he knew him that was significant. So he and Anthony Walton researched. There have been a couple of, I think, one film that we talked about and maybe a couple of books that sort of tapped into black combat units during World War II, which there were some, but not a lot. A lot were used as training battalions, and 761st was a training battalion that didn't see combat until, I'm going to say it was like August, September of 44, when Patton was running out of guys, and now they're looking to fill all these ranks. So they have a black tank unit. Now the segregation in the Army is they're going to get rid of it because they need it. And because of this unit had been overtrained. They really had more training than anybody else. So the story of the book is the unit's training and what they see. They're training in the South. The Army cadre of officers in the United States Army then was generally a lot of Southern officers. So there was a lot of discrimination going on overtly and quietly within the Army, but pretty overtly. And now they get a chance to prove themselves in combat, and they do an incredible job. So it was fascinating to me that it was great first-person stories of Leonard Smith and a number of other people within the unit, as well as the whole overall story of a black tank unit, a black combat unit being accepted and assimilated into white Army units and doing very well and having many, many things to overcome just besides God knows what the fear of combat is, but to have things in the front and the back of it. And then the story ends where the unit, these guys go through a tremendous amount of combat. They lose people. They have heroes. They have cowards. They have guys who are every range. It didn't, they're black, but they have every range of everyone else. So, and that's one of the things that's stressed in the book, that they're just human beings going through the trauma too. And they have sympathy and empathy for the Germans at some point, and they also have combat brutality to the Germans because it's war. So the book fascinated me for many, many reasons, but I think it kind of takes a little window of American history, because this actually began the change in the Army, because I think the Army, Truman ordered segregation to end in the Army. It was the first official government organization that said no more segregation. We're going to treat people as people, and it's it's taken many years for the Army to get where they are, and I'm sure they would still consider themselves not perfect. So very fascinating to me.
Yep, I agree. Couldn't agree more. And worthy of note, you said they come home, and just how to the surface, and I think about it even in today's world, these guys who had served their country, who had lost their buddies, and these guys fought. I mean, they went through the Bulge, they went through towns in France, securing it all the way in. They came back home and right back into the discrimination mode that they left.
Right. There was one soldier, and I can't remember his name for now, but came back home within 2 or 3 days of being in New York City, was assaulted and beaten because he was in an area that a black should not be in. The guy lost an eye. He was injured more severely by being beaten up by thugs than he was in his whole military career. And it was sad. And then even for Leonard Smith to become a transit police officer, he and his other buddy were like the first black transit police officer. So they were breaking a barrier there. And there's the backstory in the book too also gives just what they went through. They'd already been through the war and they've been through hell on earth, and they come back and just to get a job. And then to get the job, then they had to take a bunch of crap on the job, which was, it's amazing that the world was there at one point. Thank God we moved forward, but we still have, a lot farther to go.
Timmy, I can't thank you enough. It was a great, number one, thanks for recommending it. I love the book. I thought it was great. It is a great touch of history and very personal and very detailed on what this unit went through and the individuals who did it. Really appreciate it. Now go back behind the camera.
My pleasure.